Thank you for joining me for another Inside Look with the cast and crew of Studio 220 Films movie, The First Step. I'm sitting here with S1Ep9, Petersen, who plays David in the movie. Thank you, David, so much for joining me. Chad, David.
I answered to both. It's okay.
I'm so glad. Okay. So tell me, how did you get pulled into this movie, this project?
Wow, that's interesting. I don't know if it was by chance or divine providence, but I was playing Harold Hill in The Music Man at the Beaumont Community Theater. And Julie, who I believe you interviewed earlier, I think she saw me in Scrooge. I played Scrooge in Scrooge the Musical.
Okay.
And she told Jerry, you need to see this guy. And so they came and saw The Music Man. They invited me over for dinner. They let me read for the part. And that's how it happened.
Awesome. So you do stage acting. I know Julie had mentioned that in her interview. And so, how did you even get into film? Were you like, hey, this is a happy accident, let's do this?
No, it was just an accident. It wasn't on my vision board.
Doing film and doing stage are a little bit different. Did you find it to be different?
Oh, big time.
Really?
Yeah, big time. You know, in stage, the show starts and then the show ends, and you go through the entire arc of the character that night, and you get to feel the ups and downs and everything as you go.
Yeah.
The audience almost disappears because of the lighting. You know, they're dark. They react, but you really aren't aware of them. And then we shot the movie, and I remember the second day was an intense part of the movie. And there was news being delivered to me that I had to react incredibly emotionally to, and we had to do it, 20, 25 times from different angles, and it was a small room. The camera's right in your face. There's a sound guy. There's the one running the little clapperboard, and there's the director, and in between takes, I think they're more aware of what they're doing, and so it would be loud, or they'd be talking, or joking, and I'm sitting over here, be serious, be serious, be serious.
Stay in character.
And so that was hard, because you don't do it all in order either. So, one of the most intense things we did the second day, and did a lot of the things that built up to it later. So.
Because I've always wondered, when people go from stage acting to film acting, it's like when you're on the stage, you've got to be really big for the person in the back. But on film, it's like any little nuance the camera picks up. So what was your experience?
You are right. And I can confirm or deny whether or not I did that well or not on the film. So
I guess we'll find out.
People may watch it and be like, wow, that was over the top.
Yeah, well, you know what, we will all find out when we get to enjoy this movie. So what would you say is the funniest story? I know that the cast has a really great chemistry. They like to cut up. They get a little off script sometimes. So what was a moment that was just really funny and memorable?
Man, memory's not my strong suit, so I'm having to go back. The funniest moments. I mean, we all laughed. We all joked and had a good time. Everybody had their moment where they struggled with a scene. One of the things, I don't know if it was funny or not, but there's a scene where I have to really snap at someone, and they're supposed to react startled. And so I delivered it so well that they didn't act. Like, I really scared the tar out of them.
Oh, no.
So they really jumped pretty big. We would sing in between. We did Hakuna Matata with the character voices and things like that. I can't think of anything like over the top funny and
just fun environment. It sounds
just
like
fun environment.
Yeah. I wonder, do you guys have any of that? Are we gonna have a blooper reel after this movie?
I don't know what'll be shown. I know that there are bloopers. I've seen some of them. But honestly, even the bloopers, I don't know that any of them were like just over the top. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah.
They're mostly just kind of the standard, oh, I forgot a line.
Sure. Well, at least you guys had fun together, and that's really what matters.
There were no egos. Right? Yeah. Everybody was there for the same purpose. A lot of people, it was their first time. Yeah. And so everybody just kind of helped each other, built on each other, and it was a cool place to be. Okay, so I've heard that there's a lot of different emotions throughout the whole process of the movie. What would you say was your favorite scene? Now, without giving any spoilers, clue us in, what was your favorite? My favorite scene would be the one, I think Julie would call it, my crazy eyes. There's a scene where I'm kind of become incredibly disconnected from reality, and I'm obsessed with what's going on, and I look like maybe I've lost my mind at that point a little bit.
Okay.
Angry and I'm feeling all the emotions that are based on what's going on in the movie. So that was probably my favorite one.
Why was that your favorite? I could see that being a hard scene maybe, but
it was a hard scene, but I feel like that was a really big sound the chair made. But it was definitely a scene where I felt like I really, like, Chad disappeared. So it was, that was a interesting thing. A funny one popped into my head. We had, there's a scene where a stuffed animal falls off the piano. And we must have spent 2 hours trying to figure out the best way to make that stupid thing fall off the piano.
Oh, because you need it in every scene now.
Yeah, and everybody had their input. Let's try this, let's try that. And Folly, the director of photography, just went over and said, do this. And it worked perfectly. But yeah, so we spent a whole lot of time on
That's
one
hilarious.
little stuffed animal.
Well, and I love hearing how all the behind the scenes stuff, because when you watch the movie, everything's so relatable, it's so relevant, it's so authentic. You feel like you're there, you're experiencing all these emotions. And then when you see behind the scenes, it's like, wait a second, what? This is so different.
One of the things I think also makes a difference, a lot of people don't give enough credit to, because I've seen scenes without music. And, Jerry put a lot into making sure that the musical score for this film was done the way he felt it really needed to be done. And music adds so much to what's going on. You can watch any movie, and if you can get the musical score out of it, it doesn't feel the same.
It's true. It's true. I even do that with my kids. When we're watching a movie, I'll be like, plug your ears and listen to it without the music. Or if it's a really scary scene and they're getting kind of freaked out, I'll say, just plug your ears. It won't be so scary. Okay, so what would you say, anytime we go through something new in life, we tend to learn from it and extract some life wisdom. So this was a new-ish experience. Obviously, you're not new to acting in general, but you're new to film. And so having done this for the first time, what life wisdom would you pull from this experience?
I mean, I guess the reminder that I'm not too old to try new things. And, of course, based on the story of the movie, to not take moments for granted. Probably be the two biggest things.
That's really good. Now, connecting to that, whenever we go through life experiences that are challenging, we can also draw wisdom from that, right? And so now I don't believe that people should live in the space of regret. In fact, going through hardship, going through difficult things, making decisions we wish we could undo are advantageous when we can learn from them. So what would you say is your biggest life regret, and what did you learn from it?
Biggest regrets that I was able to learn from? Oh, man. I'm with you on the whole regrets thing. And people like to ask that question. If you could go back and change one thing, what would you change? And my answer is always nothing. Because if I changed one little thing, I wouldn't be where I am now, and I love where I am now.
Yeah.
So, but as far as life lessons or regrets that taught me something, I mean, nothing huge comes to mind. There's just, there's so many. I've screwed up a lot.
Don't put that on your billboard.
I've screwed up a lot, but I've learned a lot too.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything really just off the top of my head.
Right.
I had a family member, because I was married before, and I'm remarried now. But after that first split, I had a family member that I was really close to take sides, and it wasn't mine. And I didn't want anybody to take any sides. But 20 years, never spoke to me again, and then passed away.
Oh, wow.
And so I think the making sure that I'm forgiving, I don't hold grudges, and that I realize tomorrow isn't promised, and I don't want things to end that way. That might be one of the bigger ones. But it wasn't something I did per se, but it was something that was done to me, I guess.
Yeah. And okay, so what would you say, kind of flip side of the coin, different direction, is what is your biggest life stream? What are you hoping to accomplish at the end of your life? You look back and say, I did this, my life was a success. What is that for you?
That's an interesting question, because about a year ago, a friend of mine, Terry Weaver, he wrote a book called Making Elephants Fly. And it's about going after your dreams and going after the things that you wanted to do. And at the end of each chapter, he has homework, little questions. And I remember reading the first chapter, and the questions were, if you could do anything, what would it be? What have you always dreamed of? When you were little, what did you want to be? And all these, those kind of questions. What were your dreams? And I couldn't answer any of them. I remember calling Terry in tears and saying, I think I forgot how to dream. And so that was a big wake-up call. I think in the end, I mean, my dream obviously is to see my family succeed and be happy at what they do.
Yeah.
From, I guess, like a work or in the world kind of perspective, I help people find stories to share with other people. And if I can give people, or even just one person, the permission to share something that they felt might ruin them or they were too scared to share, but actually could help change the world, that's my dream now, is just to do that with other people.
I love that. So do you have any final thoughts that you would like to leave with our audience from maybe the way that you changed throughout this movie and just the whole experience altogether? Any final thoughts that you'd want to leave with our audience?
Final thoughts. I mean, one thing definitely came out doing this is that I'm very much my own worst critic. And I think probably that's true for most of us. And I've personally been, because I've become so much more aware of that, I've been trying harder and harder to be happy with who I am, accept the mistakes that I make, note that I'm not going to be as good as the next person. I have a quote that I share when I do presentations on stories, and I tell people, you don't have to be the best, you just have to be memorable.
Yeah.
And so I just want to be memorable. I want to do something that says, oh, I remember that guy.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story with us and diving deep into all of that with the audience so we get a glimpse of who Jenilee Petersen is. Well, thank you guys for listening and for joining us for this interview. Make sure you stay in touch, because in our next interview, we're going to be diving deep with the man himself, the director of the entire production, Mr. Jerry Lonson. And in the meantime, you can keep yourself busy by popping over to the website, and so you can follow us on social media, get involved on the email list so you can stay in touch with any future projects that are coming out, and you could possibly get involved yourself. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next interview.